credit to the History Channel. The RMS Titanic sank at approximately 0215 hours on the 15th of April 1912. Since this fateful event, a number of people have suggested that it wasn't the Titanic that sank in the North Atlantic, but her sister ship, the Olympic. Their registries were changed as an insurance scam stemming from a collision RMS Olympic suffered a year before, which caused extensive and costly damage to the hull. Here are the facts concerning the RMS Olympic and Titanic conspiracy theory. The magnificent RMS Titanic was part of a trio of Olympic-class luxury passenger liners set to rule the waves. Titanic's older and youngster sisters included the RMS Olympic and HMHS Britannic respectively. All three were the brainchildren of operators White Star Line. Shipbuilders Harland and Wolff, of Belfast in Northern Ireland, were commissioned to construct these behemoths. Work on the Titanic began on the 31st of March 1909, roughly 15 weeks after the Olympic's hull was laid down. Construction on both ships occurred simultaneously alongside one another in identical styles, two massive floating box girders with the keel acting as the backbone. Construction took in excess of 2 years to complete. Titanic sinking. Titanic's first and final voyage began in Southampton on the 10th of April 1912. Under the command of Captain Edward Smith, the Titanic made a pair of stops, at Cherbourg in France and Queenstown in the Republic of Ireland, before heading out across the Atlantic Ocean. 5 days after leaving port, and approximately 300 miles off the Newfoundland coast, 1,500 souls went down with the ship. These included 685 of the 899 crew members on board, 77%, and the naval architect who designed the Titanic, Thomas Andrews. Collision of the RMS Olympic. RMS Olympic set sail from Southampton on the 20th of September 1911 and within an hour was involved in a collision with the HMS Hawke just off the coast of the Isle of Wight. Captain Edward Smith, in command of the RMS Olympic, ordered a turn in the Solent, which caught the commander of the HMS Hawke off guard. Both ships ran into one another. Olympic managed to head back to Southampton for repairs under her own steam without any major injury or fatality aboard. But it is exactly this collision that is at the center of people's belief that the Olympic and Titanic were switched. The White Star Line discovered that the damage to the RMS Olympic was more extensive than initially believed, and an insurance scam of epic proportions was put into action. RMS Titanic conspiracy theory. It has been suggested that while both RMS Titanic and RMS Olympic were in dry dock together in Belfast, both ship registries were switched and that it was the RMS Olympic, not the Titanic, that set off for New York on the 10th of April. Was it possible that Captain Smith deliberately scuttled his own ship at the behest of the White Star Line? Did Captain Edward Smith play a role in the RMS Olympic and Titanic conspiracy theory? Supporters of the RMS Titanic conspiracy theory tend to assume that Edward Smith was a poor choice of captain for the Titanic, or at least believed there were better candidates for the job. There is some decent circumstantial evidence that could support this idea. The owner of the White Star Line, J.P. Morgan, was supposed to have been on board the RMS Titanic for its maiden voyage. For some reason, he cancelled those plans several hours before departure and didn't make the journey. Captain Smith had received numerous updates regarding iceberg warnings the day before the disaster. White Star Chairman, J. Bruce Ismay, still ordered Captain Smith to proceed full steam ahead. Someone made an unscheduled course correction for reasons that have never been explained. Could it be that such a correction was made to put the liner on a direct collision course with an iceberg? It is a standard maritime practice that ships have to undergo a procedure known as sea trials. According to records, the RMS Olympic's trials lasted 2 complete days with full-speed maneuvers, while the RMS Titanic's trial lasted less than a day and never reached the same scale. Was this broken keel unable to meet the demands of full-speed maneuvers and only half-speed trials were registered? Related, incredible Titanic pictures many haven't seen. A scam with deadly consequences. Did Ismay and Morgan plan the greatest insurance scam of all time? The RMS Olympic and Titanic conspiracy theory does have merits in plausibility. But something clearly went wrong with the idea. When the Titanic hit the iceberg, the nearest aid was over 2 hours away. There should have been another ship waiting to save Titanic's passengers. But the course corrections made steered the Titanic far from its position. Some even go as far as to say that the doomed ship didn't hit an iceberg at all, but struck the relief ship that was there purely to aid the passengers. References pulled on the 13th of December, April 2015. Other theories include: credit to bustle.com. When the Titanic set off on its maiden voyage, the British ocean liner was already famous. Commissioned by the White Star Line in the early 20th century, it was one of 3 Olympic-class liners. Its sister ships were the RMS Olympic and HMHS Britannic. The Britannic, by the way, sank in 1916 in the Aegean Sea, leaving 30 dead. The Titanic was one of the biggest, most luxurious ships of its time, and in April of 1912, it set sail for New York with more than 2,200 people aboard. 4 days into its journey, however, the ship crashed into an iceberg, tearing open multiple watertight compartments along its hull. Within a few hours, the Titanic had sunk to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, and more than 1,500 passengers and crew were dead. So much for being the king of the world. The Titanic was in the news recently thanks to an alternate theory about why it sank so easily. According to journalist Sen Moloney, it's possible that a coal fire broke out before the voyage began, weakening the ship's structure and allowing the iceberg to cause more damage. As Jalopnik pointed out, this theory isn't exactly new. We've known for a while that there was a fire on board that certainly didn't help matters, but a documentary that aired in the UK just after the New Year, Titanic, the new evidence has brought it back to light. Wondering why you're still so fascinated by these theories? We are creatures of control and predictability, Dr. Joshua Klaplow, licensed clinical psychologist and behavioral scientist, tells Bustle. We seek in general to create certainty out of uncertainty. At a very deep level, uncertainty signals danger. So when there are mysteries or stories with endings that seem not entirely clear, or worse, stories that suggest that our world is not predictable and there are no clear answers, or answers that suit our individual perspective on the world, we are prone to create stories or believe stories that fit narratives that suit us. And let's face it, conspiracy theories are also pretty exciting. Conspiracy theories tap into our natural curiosity, our desire to find truths that fit our own biased perspectives, and frankly the excitement that comes with the belief that maybe what was explained one way is not the case, Klaplow says. Conspiracy theories are both tantalizing from a mystery standpoint, but also pull on our desire to create closure and truth in our world to make it more explainable. For what it's worth, the fire theory is fairly plausible, but let's face it, that's not what you're here for. Instead, let's look at 6 conspiracy theories about the sinking of the Titanic. Although they're not all that credible, and in some cases, extremely not credible, they are always interesting to think about. 1. The ship wasn't the Titanic. Wikimedia Commons. According to one theory, it wasn't the Titanic that sank on the night of April 14th. Instead, it was her sister ship, the Olympic, which was swapped with the Titanic and sunk in a deliberate accident as part of an insurance scheme. The Olympic, you see, had been in 2 serious collisions within months of its launch. The damage was so severe that repairs would have been astronomically expensive. Some theorists have suggested that White Star Line switched out the 2 ships, so the unblemished Titanic was sailing under the Olympic's name. The Real Olympic, on the other hand, was left at the bottom of the ocean. This theory was most recently laid out in Robin Gardner's book Titanic, The Ship That Never Sank. 2. The wreck was deliberate. Another theory posits that rather than a terrible accident, the Titanic's wreck was deliberate. According to its proponents, 3 passengers on the ship, John Jacob Stiefel, Benjamin Guggenheim, and Isidor Straus, were opposed to the creation of the Federal Reserve Bank. There's actually fairly little evidence to substantiate their feelings on the matter, but oh well. Their deaths in the wreck supposedly smoothed the way for the establishment of the Federal Reserve Bank the following year, in 1913. There are a few variations on this theory. In some versions, the men were opposed to income tax legislation as well. According to others, the Catholic Order of Jesuits or the plutocrat J.P. Morgan lured the men onto the ship and to their deaths. 3. It was attacked by German U-boat. Because the Titanic was supposed to be an engineering marvel, some have claimed that it was sunk by an outside force, not an iceberg, but a torpedo from a German submarine. Supporters of this theory pointed out that several survivors heard explosions after the ship began sinking, and some saw a searchlight in the distance prior to the arrival of the rescue ship. But it's still highly unlikely to be true. Just saying. 4. The Curse of the Pharaoh. A particularly mystical, and dubiously racist, theory for the wreck blames the tragedy on a curse. According to this theory, a historian sailing on the Titanic was carrying the remains of an Egyptian mummy, which was stored on the bridge to avoid damage. You can see where this is going. Supposedly, the remains were cursed, causing the Titanic to sink mere days into the voyage. 5. A journalist foresaw the tragedy. This isn't so much a conspiracy theory as a paranormal tale, but it's worth noting. In 1886, the influential British writer William T. Stead published a short story titled How the Atlantic Mail Steamer Went Down. Its plot is eerily reminiscent of the Titanic disaster. A mail steamer in the Atlantic collides with another vessel, and a shortage of lifeboats on board caused an enormous loss of life. More than a decade later, Stead was a passenger on the Titanic. He died in the wreck, but supposedly, a medium channeled his spirit not long after his death. 6. A ship refused to help. Finally, there's a theory that the Norwegian seal hunting ship Samson was in the vicinity of the Titanic while the ship was sinking. Remember the searchlights mentioned earlier? Some believe that these lights emanated from the Samson. One crew member claimed to have seen rockets coming from the direction of what turned out to be the scene of the disaster, but because the ship was hunting in territorial waters, the distress signals were ignored. It wasn't until later that the crew found out they had sailed away from the Titanic. Then again, records indicate that the ship was probably at a port in Iceland, but that details doesn't make for a very good conspiracy theory, does it? This piece was originally published on January 6, 2017. It was updated on June 28, 2019.
Okay, so what happened to the Titanic? The second part of the question is any of those scenarios true? Just what happened to it, right? So I've already chosen the cards, okay? So it was very much a showpiece, right? It was very much, they were very proud of it. They were very proud of it. It was something to do with money. But it was, I'm getting that it was, obviously we've just heard the scenarios of all the things it could be, like the Olympic. I feel as if it was an insurance scam, but not in the way it was, that it's been portrayed, okay? Very much a showpiece. Did they go over budget? Did they go over budget? Whatever this was, it was contemplated. It was contemplated. They contemplated it. It was to do with money. It was to do... There's two scenarios. Do you know what? I'm seeing twins. I'm seeing twins. I'm seeing twin ships. Twin ships. It was disappointing. The actual Titanic was disappointing. They were disappointed with it. There was something about the ship they were disappointed with. It wasn't going to live up to its standards. I think they'd taken out a lot of money that they couldn't pay back. There's something to do with money. I don't even get it linked to, was it the Olympic? The Olympic. I don't even get it as being linked to that. I get it as being linked to the Titanic. It was linked to that. There was something's not built right on it. Something's not built right on it. It was scuppered. Yes and no. Yes and no. Because if it was scuppered, that would have come out a yes, but it turned itself round when I was thinking it, so I'll put that up right, okay, because that should be this way, right, because it's upside down. So yes and no, they planned, whatever this was, it was planned, it was planned. There was something in the plans. I'm getting people in uniform looking at plans. And they've got them out on their desk, naval uniform, shaking their head. No, no. This was planned. Yep. It was, I'm not getting that it was swapped or anything, I'm not getting the ship was swapped, I'm getting that it was actual Titanic, but there was something wrong with it and it was going to cost them a hell of a lot of money. Did they own it? There's something to do with money here. And like businessmen arguing. I don't know if they had taken a loan, the company had taken a loan out and they couldn't pay it back. There's something about money as well. Something about money. Something about money. Oh, right, okay. Something about money. Oh, I need another two, please, Spirit. And another one. Oh, well, okay. Right, so it was something to do with money. And it was the actual Titanic. There was something insecure about it. They were insecure about something. I can hear them all talking, and the captain of the ship is saying no, 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 no. But I see businessmen, I see, look, is it Admiralty? I see somebody in a big uniform though, he's got a big uniform on. Whatever this was, these people were passionate about it. They were passionate about it. It was shrouded in mist. There's something about, there's mist, some sort of mysticism, some sort of, there was something on that ship. I don't feel as if it was, like say, as we heard before, like, you know, like say those for the Federal Reserve. I don't get that at all, but there was something on that ship that they were trying to bury. They were trying to bury. Whatever this was, this ship was rejected. It was rejected. It was rejected. It would cost her too much money, it was costing too much money to run, it was something to do, as we heard, there was something to do with the, you know, like say, the voyages before, you know, like they had a couple, I think that had only one. There was something found when that went out for its test, there was something found in it. This has got nothing to do with the Olympic, it's got nothing to do, this is actual Titanic. Do you know what I'm seeing? I'm seeing the bell, and it's got the Titanic on it. I'm seeing the bell. Is there something to do with the bell? Is there something? There's something not right around when it was getting built. There was something not right about when, and they were trying to, there's a big hush hush, hush 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 about it. Don't tell, that's what I'm hearing, don't tell, don't tell. People lost their lives when they were building this, because I'm seeing lots and lots of death around this ship. Not even in there, but before it had even left the dock, there was death about it. People were worked to death when they were trying to get this to go. There was bribes involved, there was all sorts of things was involved in this that tested people's faith. It tested their faith. Wow. I'm hearing that the captain going, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do that, I'm not being party to this, I'm not being party to it. There's something. Whatever, it was planned though. It wasn't an accident, I'm hearing it wasn't an accident, it was planned. There was something they were trying to bury on that ship. So what were they trying to bury on it? See, there you go. I would have said that was the iceberg. Something was done to that ship to sink it. It would have cost too much money to run. Too much money to run. It was a kind of insurance because they'd taken insurance out on the ship. On the ship. So they were partly right about it. I'm talking to Thomas, my guide. So they were partly right about the insurance scam, but it wasn't the Olympic. It was actually they'd taken insurance out on this ship. Whoever this was got a big payout. Underhand, under the table payout. I'm seeing money exchanging hands under the table. There was a woman on the ship that knew. A woman on the ship knew everything and she had to go. I'm here and she had to go. She wasn't getting into the lifeboat, that's for sure. She was the wife of somebody big. She was the wife of some big billionaire, some big person, and she knew the secrets. Whatever it was, it's in her bag. It was in her bag, it was in her case. They put it, that's where they put it. They put it in the case. It's still at the bottom of the ocean, I'm hearing. Yep, riches. Something to do with riches. We're trying to get rid of. It's documents. There's documents. They put them on the ship. They put these documents on the ship and they knew the ship was going down. They knew the ship was going down. It was all planned. It was all planned. There was something in this ship. To run it, it would have cost them too much money. Do you know what I'm hearing? It would have cost them too much money because they were coming into the war. The war was all planned. First World War was all planned. This would have cost too much money. They would have lost too much money. Oh, this is just... It's all muddled. It's all muddled. Do you know what I'm seeing? See that scene in the Titanic with the Rose standing in the ship and she comes, Rose I think it was, comes to meet him. I'm seeing people who lost their lives on that ship all staring because they all know, all staring. I'm hearing it was an insurance scam, but it wasn't the Olympic. It wasn't that. They scuppered that ship, they scuppered the Titanic to pay for the Olympic, because there was a flaw in the Titanic. The unsinkable ship, there was a flaw in it, and they couldn't fix it. It would have cost them too much money to fix. So they were partly right, it was partly an insurance scam, but there was documents, there was documents about something that they were trying to bury. They were trying to bury these documents. Do you know, it's linked to Ireland. The documents are linked to Ireland, so whatever it was, this, wonder, like to maybe go deeper into this at another time to see what's going on. A time to give rather than take. They were all in the take. They were all in the take. And the captain decided to go down with the ship. He went down with the ship, went down his passengers, because he couldn't live with himself. Couldn't live with himself. So it was partly right. It was an insurance scam. They got money to you know, to run other ships. There was one on the they scuppered that as well. The one that was 20. Where was that I said? It was in here. One of them, I think it was 19. Was it 1915 or something? Yeah, was it 1915? Remember in the first part it said that one of the other sister ships sank as well. So they sank the Titanic, they sank the other one because they'd ran out of money. They'd ran out of money building these things, building the ships. They'd ran out of money. They sank one, they sank the Titanic, they sank the other one. But it was like, they knew they were going to sink it, they knew they were going to scupper it. And there was documents, but the documents are relating to Ireland. This needs further investigation, but I've not got time to now. So I'll maybe do a wee follow-up for this. So, all in all, what it was, yes, it's an insurance scam. There's documents at the bottom of the sea relating to Ireland that they were trying to get rid of. They knew that it was going to be it was going to be too much money to run because they were coming into the war, because the war was all planned. The First World War was all planned. And the captain was not happy. No ship was coming. No ship, no. They didn't care. So that's the Titanic. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the wee history bit about it and what it could have been. So it was partly right. The two of them were partly right. Okay, so I'll leave that with you. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back with a conspiracy. Don't know which one it'll be. I'll have a wee look and see the conspiracy. Okay, JFK's come in, so maybe what's me to do that conspiracy. He's nodding. He's always around. He's always around me. So I'll go and I'll see you soon. Alright.